Over the past few years, the word third place has become an incredibly viral talking point online. While I am very late to the height of this word's popularity, I've had multiple experiences in my real life lately that have forced me to finally talk about third places. I think there's a gap in the discussion of third places online. A lot of people misunderstand what a third place actually is, and even more people completely miss the real problem behind our third space problem. When people talk about a lack of third places, they're not discussing how this phenomenon affects people in more isolated rural areas. They're not bringing up the fact that the world has shifted to a landscape where capitalists force you to pay for a false sense of community. It's all surface level. It may have become a buzzword for some time, but there's still much that has been left unsaid about third places. And I like talking. We're on a straight path to a future where Amazon delivers our every need to our homes, where we don't speak to our neighbors, where we consume our every desire all while sitting at home. A future where we have nowhere left to go. The term third place originally came from American sociologist Ray Oldenburg. Oldenburg's definition was based on the first place being the home you live in and the second place being where you go to work. He argues that third places are necessary for community, saying a third place is open and inviting, comfortable and informal, convenient, unpretentious, a regular spot, conversational, and lighthearted. It has taken on a somewhat new meaning though, as most people are not even aware of where the term originated from, instead learning of the concept through viral videos online that broaden the meaning. For the sake of this video, the definition that I'm going to be basing my commentary on is simple. A third place is anywhere you go that is not home or work. You can, to some extent, make a third place anywhere, from a grocery store to a coffee shop, but I'd also like to make the point that a third place cannot be anywhere. I know that sounds contradictory. What I'm trying to say is that the term doesn't necessarily need to follow the exact guidelines that Oldenburg made up. In fact, the word and its definition doesn't mean much in the grand scheme of things, though it is a helpful catch-all word for the points that I'm trying to convey in this video. And the original definitions still are helpful. Third places are not a new concept. While we may not have had an exact word to describe them, third places have existed as long as we have. Take the tea houses that became community centers in the Jin dynasty in China, or the agoras in ancient Greece, which were at times used for various public assemblies. People are naturally inclined to seek out and create spaces where they can be in community with those around them. Not to beat a dead horse, but a lot of people in the world today are incredibly lonely, me included. It's important to note that loneliness means something different to everybody. I personally love being alone, which may seem lonely to others, but being alone doesn't mean that you're lonely, and you can feel alone even in the presence of others. Whatever makes you feel alone, or wherever you draw the line, it's obvious that an alarming amount of people are suffering from severe loneliness. A recent American Psychological Association poll found that little over half of US adults feel isolated, left out, and lacking companionship often or some of the time. The APA said that even though people recognize that they need companionship in some way, they are struggling to find it. Loneliness doesn't just feel psychologically bad, it impacts every part of your life, including your physical health. It's been well reported that loneliness can increase your risk of certain diseases and premature death. People from marginalized backgrounds, those who are LGBTQ, not white, from poorer countries, and so on, all experience loneliness at higher rates as well. Yet for all of the posturing the US government does about loneliness, they are far from being concerned with fixing it. If that was the case, we wouldn't be a car-dominant society. We wouldn't work 40+ hours a week, and we wouldn't be poor. If the government was really concerned with how lonely we are, they would put people over profits, and we would all have easy access to third places that would act as community centers. But that's never going to happen. A third space can be a place where you hang with friends, where you politically engage with others, where you can sightsee, where you can do work or schoolwork, where you can do nothing. Like I said, I don't care about strictly defining the term, but the main points I'm going to use to define third places is that they should 1. Be free or not expensive, 2. They should be physically accessible, and 3. They should be run by the community. Each new insistence on the importance of third places ends up muddying the definition of what a third place is. For some, it's a bar or restaurant where they can hang out with friends and community. For others, it's a park or somewhere else where socialization can happen for free. Third places are malls, or maybe they explicitly are not malls. In London, Third Space is the name of a luxury health club. A number of people think third places somehow only exist in Europe. Many other people have called for the development of more alcohol-free third places. According to Kelly Varell, the co-executive director for the Organization Project for Public Spaces, there's a difference between defining just what third places are and then actually evaluating how well they're working as such. Third places aren't just a buzzword, they're important aspects of our lives. They give us literal spaces where we can change up our environments, places where we can find other like-minded people, and even where we can help others and receive help. In essence, they are meant to be community centers of some kind where we can feel like we are a part of something, even if we aren't interacting with anyone there. Humans are a social species. We need third places, and it's unlikely that we'll ever totally lose them. People have been discussing the idea of losing third places for a long time, and while they might be threatened by factors like the cost of living, they will likely remain in some form. Is that form going to be a good form though? For a while, I've been getting this one video in my YouTube recommendations. Third places aren't gone, we just stopped going. In her video, the YouTuber Shelby Church argues that third places still exist, but they're just not accessible to people anymore. Shelby says that for a third space to truly feel like a place for community, you have to go there often and run the chance of seeing some people that you can make connections with. But if third places are out of the way of your work and other commutes, you're not going to make time to go to them. I think she brings up a great point. We live in a car-dominant society, a topic I've already made an entire video about. In most places in the US, we cannot simply stop by a bar or a park on our way home from work. It's too far away, or we don't have the time and energy. In her video, she notes that LA has plenty of libraries and parks, on paper, but it's hard to get to them. I mean, that's not surprising. Ask someone from LA how long it takes to drive a mile down the road. In places where some third spaces exist, it can be hard to make the time to even go to them. Zoning laws are notorious for neatly separating commercial and residential areas, leaving us with hideous suburban sprawls where the nearest coffee shop is miles away on some street-road hybrid that you have to drive out of your way to get to. Even more reason for why our car dependency is a major factor for our unhappiness and unhealthiness. Oldenburg wrote, "What suburbia cries for are the means for people to gather easily. A place on the corner. These local places on the corner are becoming increasingly rare due to urban sprawl and car-dependent city design." A Vox article reported on a 2021 study done by the Survey Center on American Life, wherein they found that Americans make most of their friends at work, followed by school, existing friend networks, their neighborhood, their houses of worship, and clubs or organizations. However, the way most American cities, towns, and suburbs have been designed makes it increasingly difficult to access these places and form friendships and communities. The central issue is that so many of these urban areas in the US are built for cars, not people. And there are plenty of other accessibility barriers to third places, which I'll get into later. But while Shelby has a strong point, I think she's simplifying the issue too much. Maybe in bigger cities or towns, there are many third places for people to go to, yet they are inaccessible due to cost or distance, and so on. But for many smaller communities in the US, third spaces of any kind are few and far between. They're not disappearing here, or becoming increasingly accessible. In fact, they were barely there in the first place. As most of you know by now, I live in a rural area with a small town nearby. It's kind of a joke amongst people who grow up in small towns that the only place for kids to really hang out after school is Walmart. I've had my fair share of hangouts there after school, and I still see kids from the school hanging out there. Do I need to explain why this is incredibly fucking depressing? Most kids in school already have a lack of access to places they can hang because they can't drive or they don't have a car, which, as we've already discussed, is a primary decider as to whether you're going to be able to actually use third places, especially when you live in a rural area. It's not just kids in school though. If you want to go somewhere after work, you're shit out of luck, even in bigger cities. Most public spaces or businesses close around 6 p.m., severely limiting the time you have to hang out somewhere after your 9 to 5 or 8 to 3 school day. Add the wintertime onto that, and the lack of spaces to commune in is even more restricted. The sun sets at 4:30 p.m. and it's 20 degrees Fahrenheit, -5 Celsius. What limited outdoor public spaces you might have had access to, like parks or recreational areas, are closed, or the weather is too shit to go outside. A friend of mine and I have been struggling to find places to hang at in the evening. We could go out to eat, but that adds up really fast. We could go to a coffee shop, but they close at 5 or 6 p.m. We could go to a local park area, but it turns out that you'll get arrested if you go there after dark. So where exactly are we supposed to go? See, that's the other thing. Not only do you have to spend money to have access to anywhere outside of your home to hang, but if you're around public property for too long or there after dark, you will get persecuted for literally just wanting somewhere to hang out. Laws like this are meant to target possibly malicious offenders from hurting public property or other people. But you should know by now that almost every law in this country is enforced wrongly and unjustly. Drug addicts, homeless people, sex workers, protesters, disabled people, poor people, people of color, and more are the ones most targeted for loitering laws. A Washington Post article published after the discriminatory arrest of 3 black men said, "These laws criminalize being idle, poor, immoral, and dissolute, wandering about with no apparent purpose, being a habitual loafer or disorderly person, and more." Where most American laws required people to do something criminal before they could be arrested, vagrancy laws made it criminal to simply be a certain kind of person. The police use these laws to keep a vast array of people in certain places and out of others, to deny their freedom, and to exclude them from political power, social life, and cultural acceptance. A 1972 Supreme Court case ruled that states should examine the vagueness of vagrancy laws, declaring laws and ordinances that were unclear unconstitutional. But vagrancy laws were not altogether struck down. Most states and townships simply rewrote their laws to make them just a little clearer. Vagrancy laws, like loitering laws, still disproportionately negatively impact all of the aforementioned groups, and make public hangouts where you don't have to spend money even harder to come around. Like I said, if you're also outside in cities or towns after dark, you'll get targeted, and even more if you're part of any marginalized groups. Bradley Garrett wrote for The Guardian in 2015, "Rights to the night have long been contested. Public rights to cities have been curtailed at night in 3 ways: by closing cities entirely after a certain time through curfews, by closing public places after a particular time, as with UK public parks, or by prohibiting certain activities after a certain time, as in lockout laws." As of 2009, at least 500 US cities had curfews prohibiting anyone under 18 from being on the streets at night. Around 100 cities also have daytime curfews to keep children off the streets during school hours, making the hours when youths actually have a right to be in public space extremely narrow. The police state brainwashes us to believe that law enforcement is actually there to help us, but all they do is hurt us, some of us much more than others. Don't go outside at night because it's for your own good. But how is being forcibly arrested for hanging out after dark helping us? Assuming that space becomes unsafe at night is a self-fulfilling prophecy. If the night is a place where we think only violence happens, then people go into the night expecting that and make it manifest. However, if nighttime is when people of diverse backgrounds and motivations gather, the night becomes safer. The neoliberal tendency to curb routine public freedoms in the name of security after dark is flawed. It is a simple exchange of one kind of violence for another. David Leonhelm, a liberal Democrat senator in NSW, referred to the Sydney lockout laws as a collective punishment based on a few isolated, if horrific, anecdotes. A case of using an axe when a scalpel would do. Okay, so the sun sets at 4:30, and we're criminalized for being anywhere outside after dark, or being outside even if it isn't dark. So where else can my friend and I go? All of the parks are off limits. It's wintertime and dark. It's hard to do many recreational activities outside without proper, expensive, and inaccessible equipment. There are some coffee places and cafes, but they close at 6 p.m., if you're lucky. Restaurants and bars are open later, but it's expensive to buy a meal or drink every time you hang out with someone. So that leaves Walmart and other box stores that are open late. Yay! If we even want a chance of finding something to do, we have to drive to the nearest city-like area, which is 30 minutes away. And even then, the options will still be limited. We'll probably still have to spend money, whether that's a lot or a little, to get in somewhere, or peruse a shop where the only thing you can do is spend money. Commercial businesses should not be our only third spaces. In fact, I'd argue that they shouldn't even count as such. How can you build community if you need money to do it? How can you hang out with your friends if you always have to spend money when you do it? Capitalism feeds off of our loneliness and turns community into something that is consumable. I don't think that Shelby misunderstands the real problem with third places, because the problems she outlined are very real, but she misses the other issue: money. There's a popular sentiment I've noticed in threads online discussing the disappearance of third places. People say that there are third places, but people aren't making an effort to go to them. In essence, they're afraid to socialize, or they choose to keep themselves up inside for other individual reasons. There's no systemic issue with third spaces. People just don't want to go to them anymore. I think that this is a ridiculous misinterpretation of the issue. As I've made it clear already, rural areas' access to third spaces has been limited for a very long time. The already present issues within cities, inaccessibility due to transportation and costs, and a criminalization of people in private and public spaces, is heightened in rural areas due to how spread out they are and how often the residents in the town itself are low income. Sure, there's people who wouldn't take advantage of third places even if they were plentiful and accessible, but this isn't really the overarching case. Even in cities, all of the aforementioned issues exist. We deserve to have places to go to when it's dark, or too cold, or too hot, and where we don't have to face pressure to spend money, or where we don't have to spend money at all. We aren't to blame for not going to third places, because most of us can't go to the third places that exist. All the decisions made in our municipalities aren't made based on whether or not a third place will be accessible to the residents, or whether it could make a nice community center. It's decided based on how profitable it will be to make it, and capitalists love this. At a Walmart, at a fitness studio that costs $100 a month to get in, at a coffee shop where you have to buy something in order to sit down at, and call them third places. Maybe if we do that, people will forget that they have no real third places anymore. Now, there are other various reasons for why third places are declining in America, another one being an increase in hyper-individualism. For instance, think about how popular the home gym has become in recent years. Of course, there's plenty of legitimate reasons for why someone might need a home gym. The nearest gym is too far away, too expensive, or they physically aren't able to use a public gym. Yet many people with home gyms simply have them because they don't want to work out around other people. Gyms are not exactly third places, as some of them have prices that are completely inaccessible, but they have been a communal center in a different sense. We share equipment instead of each of us owning our own individual machines. It's like going to a library versus everyone creating their own home libraries, or renting a truck when you need it instead of driving it year-round only to use the bed one time. American homes up until 2015 had risen in their average sizes, but since then the average size has decreased. Yet while average sizes are going down, Americans still have a surplus of empty bedrooms in their homes, signifying an increase of people living and staying in bigger homes more than ever before. In 2023, the number of extra bedrooms in the US reached 31.9 million, up from 31.3 million the year prior, and over 4 times the 7 million extra bedrooms the country had back in 1980. Even though homes aren't much bigger, less people live in each household now. In certain cultures throughout the world, and even in some places in the US, you typically see many generations living together under one roof. Yet in this country, we're pressured to move out as soon as the clock turns over on our 18th birthday, even if it's not feasible, even if it's not safe, even if it's isolating. Left to live alone with every amenity available in our own homes. We don't even need to leave our homes now. I do think that people want to be around others less, and there's less of an importance placed on socializing with others now. But is this decreased socialization really our own doing? Another thing contributing to the decline in in-person third places is a shift to online spaces to recreate the in-person third place. Online gaming servers are often brought up as a shining example of the digital third place. Because what else could make you feel more welcomed into somewhere other than getting called a slur that you didn't even know existed? Whether it is through small group quests, voice or text chatting, or large servers, these interactions are a vital mechanic to advance in the game. By incorporating these features, video games have transformed into a digital type of third space. For people who grapple with the challenges of in-person interactions due to sensitivity, shyness, social anxiety, or any other inhibiting condition, video games can provide the platform to still forge connections and improve their social abilities. Acknowledging the pitfalls of video game usage is necessary, as an excessive amount of time spent gaming can lead people away from in-person interactions entirely. However, the knowledge that video games provide this path for social growth and deep connection as a digital third space can provide new insights into how third spaces are not entirely disappearing, but evolving for a digitized society. A third place doesn't necessarily need to be in person. Online gaming communities have existed for years, but it's hard to even imagine someplace online as meeting the definition of a third place. Online communities like this should merely supplement our real-life interactions with other people. They should not be the only way that we socialize. Increasingly though, especially through COVID, more and more people are only getting their social interactions through online third places. I hesitate to even call these spaces third places. You're likely not leaving your house, even if it may feel like you're doing something different at that moment. You're also likely not building a real community with others since the internet is vast. While chatting with people in a shared community on Reddit may feel like community building, none of these people will actually be there for you when you need the benefits of community. It's a false sense of security. Online spaces like these can be useful to those who have trouble seeing people in person or going to public spaces. But for most people, this shouldn't be the only way they socialize with others. Of course, online communities can offer benefits that in-person communities don't, notably anonymity, asynchronization, and the ability to talk to almost anyone across the globe. Online third spaces also aren't always vast social media platforms like Reddit, or random gaming chat rooms like a COD server. A lot of people have online third spaces on places like Discord and other group hosting platforms, where they spend their time not only with friends they know offline, but also their internet friends. For those who may not be able to meet people in person for whatever reason, these smaller platforms may be the only way they can have a third space with people, whether that's friends or new people. Places like a Discord chat room can be an intimate way to connect with others, like going to the same coffee shop week by week could be. However, in my personal opinion, the benefits of online third spaces doesn't mean that they can completely replace in-person interactions that can give you experiences, in-person support, and places outside of the work and home to be physically present in. Although I recognize that this may be one of the only ways some people can be present with others without being in person. It's not just social media that's changing the way we socialize. Most things we might have gone to a third place for, we don't even need to leave our house for anymore. Take movie theaters, for example. What once was a place where you had to go if you wanted to see a new movie is now a place that you have to make an effort to go to. A September AP poll found that 2/3 of Americans said that they watched a new movie on streaming instead of going to see it in theaters. And only 16% of people said that they went to the movies at least once a month. I could make a whole other video about people not going to the theaters as much and what that means just for cinema. For example, movies used to have a 90-day theatrical release window before being put on streaming services. Now, it's hard for them to even get a 40-day window. The impact that this and also the decline of physical CDs have had on the movie industry is not to be understated. With the advent of every kind of streaming service imaginable and almost every movie available at your fingertips at any moment, is it surprising that people wouldn't leave the comfort of their homes to pay $14 to sit in a movie theater for 2+ hours with other people? Obviously, if you know anything about movies, you know that the viewing experience is not the same. But most people don't care about that. Even I, someone who'd like to say that they care about movies, don't go to the theaters. The closest theater to me is 17 miles away and is an expensive sensory overload for me. Why would I go to the theaters when every movie is available on streaming a little over a month after its release? My local theater closed after COVID, like many businesses did. With the advent of COVID, not only did places go out of business due to people not being allowed to go out, but COVID also sparked an even slower decline of in-person experiences due to businesses seeking alternate forms of getting customers. Take the incredible rise of DoorDash as an example. Fortune reported this year, 12 years after its founding, DoorDash has separated itself from the pack in the US restaurant delivery industry, on track to generate more than $13 billion in annual revenue in 2025, while owning around 60% market share, more than double the size of its nearest competitor, Uber Eats. Grubhub, which along with its subsidiary Seamless, once dominated the third-party restaurant delivery businesses in the US, now stands a distant third with less than 10% market share. Takeout culture has completely overtaken places where it's available. Most restaurants, even if they don't do deliveries, have some kind of takeout option. You pay for someone to make your food, but you're not even enjoying a restaurant experience. I mean, what's even the point? It's not just restaurants though. We have almost everything at our fingertips now, from necessities to anything that we could ever want. E-commerce sales accounted for 16% of retail sales in 2024, with over 70% of those purchases being made from a cell phone. Whenever I see people discuss third places, I see them bring up malls and how many of them have closed in the past decade. While this is true, and a further signifier of how many people shop online now, and how much retail giants have cornered the market, the existence of a mall shouldn't be the end-all be-all of our third place problem. Malls aren't there to host community events or to bring people together organically. They're there to make a profit. Shopping should not be our primary way of interacting with others, or the only hobby we're able to do outside of the home. Most of the third places that come to mind when you think of them don't come without a financial cost to us. Activities we have to pay to do, places we have to pay to eat at. What places we have access to are completely driven by profit over our well-being as community members. The anti-union coffee chain Starbucks this year tried to make a rebrand for itself. Over the years, they've gradually phased out their comfortable seating and welcoming interior, replacing the furniture with chairs that have backs that are so short, they might as well be up your asshole. At least that would offer better back support. Seeing the hot discussion of third places online though, and knowing that people have almost nowhere else to go, Starbucks wanted to get in on the market. The CEO, Brian Niccol, wants to reestablish their stores as gathering places where you can linger. Yet at the same time, Starbucks' adoption of the third space again comes with no longer giving out free water or allowing non-paying customers to use the restroom, policies that would actually make it a space for everyone. Allowing people to hang is where restaurants and bars run up against the realities of operating in a rampantly capitalist society. Though Starbucks is banking its new business model entirely on the idea that you should treat it as a third place, it feels like you literally have to be an international corporation to make this kind of third place model work. I don't think I need to point out that Starbucks is literally a for-profit company. This is all marketing. And anyone who thought that Starbucks changing their interior design would reestablish the third place in society is either an idiot or incredibly naive. A lot of people also seem to believe that the decline in people going to church is part of why we feel we are losing third spaces. What was once an integral part in many communities, both big and small, is not nearly as important anymore as younger generations move away from the church and organized religion as a whole. Here's the thing though, I think it's actually a good thing to move away from churches being the only community centers in a town. For one, making a church a town's only community center puts unnecessary pressure on people to interact with organizations that may go against their beliefs. Instead, there should also be secular options for them to get help or find friends. Not only that, but churches are just as profit-driven as any other place. Just look at the recent discourse with the baby formula experiment on TikTok. Who is going to be there when you need help if a church, the epitome of community, isn't? We are losing third places. As everything becomes more expensive, more digital, and as we become more car dependent and less willing to socialize, businesses and townships, now more than ever, are not willing to build and support real third places. Spaces where we don't have to spend money, where we can safely linger as long as we like. Capitalism will look for profit wherever it is. If we're lonely and isolated, they will find a way to exploit that, to charge us in order to have a community. But real community is free. It's free of profits and capital, and it's real. It's helping others and receiving help when you need it. It's having safe spaces to go where nothing is expected of you. It's sharing with others. Capitalism is the antithesis of that. It requires us to be alone and isolated. Despite the third place model being considered a poor money-making model for years, the current death of the third place has just become another convenient profit tool for them to seize. Well, that's it for me, and that's it for this video. Please let me know what you thought about this video down below. Do you think that we're losing third spaces? Did you like anything I had to say in this video? Did you dislike anything I had to say in this video? I'm sure you'll comment it down below. Comment down below anything you'd want to comment down below. I'd like to give a shout out to my Patreon members who are part of my Alpha and Delta tiers. Thank you so much to Lisbeth Ruiz and Shula Cooper. I truly appreciate your continued support. It means so much to me. Thank you so much to all of my Patreon members. If you want to become a member, the link will be down below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you like me, you can subscribe. I post videos about whatever I feel like talking about. So if that sounds like your thing, make sure to subscribe and turn the notification bell so you know when I post a video. Really hope you all enjoyed this video, but more importantly, I really hope I see you in the next video. You'll be there, right? Right. Okay, bye.